Hello everyone and welcome to Purple Rose Crafts. My name's Amanda and today we're going to be talking about the seed stitch, which is this beautiful knit pattern, this knit fabric that you can see here. What we're actually doing here is we're going to actually talk about, this is going to be a twofold tutorial. We're going to talk about how to make a nice pretty straight edge here as well for our work to make a beautiful scarf edging. So this is actually going to be a cowl or just a regular scarf if you'd like it that way. But it is, we're going to do this nice beautiful straight edging on the sides, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So it is on both sides of our work. We've got this beautiful kind of chain happening up the edge here. If you crochet, that's similar to what the chains look like on crochet, and it's just beautiful. So what we're using for yarn is our Bernat roving, and it is a 5, I believe. Yeah, it's a 5. It's a bulky. And they recommend that we use a 6.5 millimeter knitting needle for this one. This one's a little bit different than some of the other ones I've been using. It's an 80% acrylic, but with a 20% wool. But it's not scratchy. It's nice and soft. And actually, I have a bit of an allergy to wool, and it doesn't bother me at all. So it's perfect. All right, so that's our roving. So we are using our 6.5 millimeter knitting needles. All right. So we have done many rows here. So what we did is we cast it on, and I will include the pattern, link to this pattern, which will be posted on our blog. The link to the pattern will be posted in the description on the video. And if you need to know, if you want to learn how to cast on, then check this video up here in the corner. And any other kind of like basics of knitting, there's two videos. So there's a part 1 beginner knitting and a part 2 beginner knitting. So check both of those videos out, and you'll be ready to go. And so, what we've done here is we've created this beautiful side chained edge. It's a nice straight edging, which I love. And the way that we do that is actually very, very simple. It might seem complicated, but it's not. What we're doing is we're going to slip our first stitch purlwise. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our needle as if we're going to do a purl stitch, and instead of actually doing anything with it, we're just going to slip it off onto the right hand needle. So we're going to skip it. So that's our slip. And now in order to do our seed stitch, it is a very simple knit 1, purl 1 all the way across the row, and every row is the same. So it's a very, very simple, even beginner knitting pattern. Once you know how to do both of those stitches, you can easily do this one. Okay, so we've knitted the first one. We're going to purl the second, and what we're doing is actually, whoops, we're creating, what's happening here? My yarn is separating. Okay, what we're doing is we're actually creating this bump pattern, which is happening with our stitches. So those are created by the purl stitches, which we have here as from our row below. But when we pair it with a knit stitch, it actually makes the purl pop out of our fabric. So you can see, like, kind of underneath here, we've got basically this is our knit stitch from the row below this row. So we're doing knit, purl, knit as we go up the fabric and across. So it's going to make this beautiful bumpy seed stitch, which is so beautiful. Okay, so we've put our yarn back to the back, and we're going to knit, and then we're going to purl. So we're going to, it is very, very simple, this one. It's going to be a quick little video for you with that straight edging and this beautiful seed stitch. So we're going to continue doing this across the row. And then because I have casted on an even number of stitches, I finish with a purl stitch on the end of the row. It actually creates, what's actually happening is this slipped stitch that we left here on the side becomes our purl for the row on the way back. So that's how this creates this beautiful straight edge. And it is perfect because every row I end with a knit stitch and then I purl for the straight edge. So it's kind of an exact match up for this pattern. So, all right, let's continue. So we're gonna go across the row. This stitch is worked a little bit slower than, say, like a straight garter stitch or a stockinette, because those types of stitches are done all the same all the way across the row. So, you know, you're doing all knits or all purls. When you're going back and forth, it does slow things down, but that's okay. You know, it is beautiful. So you know, I recommend giving this one a try. It just turns out so lovely. All right, so what we're looking at when we're looking at our stitches is we want to make sure that when we have a knit stitch, which this one here is a knit stitch, you can see our little V happening here. We want to make sure that we're going to purl into this stitch. So that way, when we are moving vertically up the blanket, we're knitting, purling in each row. And that will give us this nice bump pattern that we're looking at for the seeds. And so there, that's created our purl, which is our bump. Okay, so now we have this stitch here has a bump, and so we're going to create our knit into that one. So it's going to flatten down the next one. So we want to make sure we know what we're looking at when we are moving along. And sometimes even I make a couple of mistakes. I had to go back a few stitches here earlier when I was working on this, and it was fine. You know, you just kind of pick them back up on your needle. So you kind of stick your needle back in like this, loop off the top one, and pull your yarn out so it's not inside there anymore. So because sometimes, especially with this last stitch, if it's a purl, it's really hard to tell that it's a purl. The knits are nice and kind of V-like, but sometimes the purls look a little bit different, and it should be pretty easy to see, but not always. So, you know, if we finish the knit stitch like this, right, it doesn't yes, it does look different from this one, but it's not always super obvious that what the stitch is. So sometimes I'll go back a few stitches and then just double check. So that's a purl, that's a knit, that's a purl, and then of course a knit. And just to make sure that my pattern is still on track, because the last thing you want to do is stop in the middle and start doing straight rows of ribbing, let's say. Okay, all right, so let's finish off the row, and then I'll show you the purl stitch at the end. As I said, that will get us to our nice straight edging, and then we turn our work around and we head back the other direction exactly the same way. So we're going to do the slip at the beginning stitch, and then we're going to continue in our knit purl pattern across the row as we did for this row, and it turns into this lovely, beautiful fabric. So what I've done is, in this case, I will be making it probably around 40 inches long, just to make it go around my neck well, and kind of give me some looseness. I may modify that though if I get to the end at 40 inches and it's not quite long enough, because I do like a little bit looser of a cowl. If you're making like an infinity scarf, you would want to go longer, like probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like maybe 50 or 60 inches, and then you have the option to loop it over your neck and over your head an extra time to give you that infinity scarf look. All right, so we're here at the end of the row, and now we're going to just do a purl into that slip stitch, and that's it. We are done for the end of that row. So now we're going to turn it around, slip our stitch, and continue on our way. Just looking at the seed stitch that we've been doing here. So I just wanted to show an example of what a regular knit edge looks like. So this is a stockinette section that I used for my beginner knitting tutorial. As you can see, the edging isn't, you know, it's a little bit bumpy towards the back, and it just isn't really all that straight. And same thing when we get up here to our ribbing, it really is just, you know, it's just, you know, not super neat at the edge. And this is another sample here from the same video. Now, if you can see, this one actually looks fine. Like this is a garter stitch section. So all the rows are just straight knitted if you didn't watch that video. So this is just, you know, nice and stretchy. But when you get to the end, this is actually not a problem for me. Like, I don't mind the way that looks. It just is you know, a cute little edge, which is fine. But for a scarf, something I'm going to be actually wearing around my face, especially if I am going to gift it, which I do a lot of my my knitting projects and crochet projects. I love doing it, so I end up gifting a lot of my things away. So in this case, doing this like beautiful edging is going to look so nice once you actually put it, once you start wearing the garment, right? So so I opted to do this as my edging, which is also gives me the bonus of being able to show it to you. So all right, so now we've got kind of a lot of things going on our table, but that's okay. All right, let's continue. So what we're doing again is we're going to slip our first stitch purlwise. So we're going to insert our needle as if we're purling and slip it off our needle. And then we're going to start with a knit stitch. So we knit and purl across the row. So that's basically it. When you get to the length that you want to stop at, what you know, you can definitely try it on, see if it's long enough on yourself, and if it's long enough, then you just start your cast off row. So if you want a simple kind of knitted cast off, it'll be in my beginner part 2 video, which I will link here in the description and in the description below. And that'll be a simple knitted cast off. And then what you'll want to do is you'll want to use your crochet hook to basically slip stitch across the end, or you can use a darning needle, which is like a yarn needle. It's a very kind of like fat, it's got a big hole on the end, and it's nice and like it's blunt needle as well. And you can use your yarn and just sew across the 2 edges, sew them together, and then you're all done. So that is it for the seed stitch and making this scarf pattern. So it is just such a beautiful stitch. It is a favorite of mine already, and I haven't even finished my first item for it, but it is just so beautiful. So I'm just so excited to use this and gift and wear it this winter. All right, so if you like what we're doing and you enjoyed this tutorial, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our videos, because that way you will get notified when we post new ones. The next video coming up will be happening very soon. I am trying to do my best to post twice a week. And if you are making anything that we're showing on our tutorials here, then tag us on Instagram in your posts, okay? And we will share them to our stories. I love watching what you guys are doing with your with our videos. So I will link my Instagram account as well, our Instagram account in the description, and you can follow us there as well. And I will post as well once we are posting new tutorials. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.